Welcome to another session of Introduction to Production Management. Today we'll be looking at designing goods and services. We've seen the issue of quality management and total quality management. And now the idea is that if we are able actually to ensure quality holistically in an organization, then this can culminate into helping us come out with good designs for our products and services. And so we will look at this from this perspective. Now, we're saying that why in the first place do you need a good design for a good or a service? So the lifeblood of any organization is new products and services. So that's one thing that keeps the organization going. Now, this is the point. Every product has a certain point or attains a certain maturity point and begins to decline. There's no product that will remain on the market forever. And so at some point, you either need to come out with a new one, or you would need to, rejuvenate it or do some new additions to it and, come out with some improvements. Then you kind of renew the cycle for the product. So design can help provide a competitive edge for the organization by means of introducing new products or renewing what's already on the market to come out with something new. Now, so what are some of the benefits of an effective design? Now, when we talk of an effective design, the design that specifically meets specification and also speaks exactly what the customer actually wants. And you see, a design must also lend itself to production. Now, all these things come to play to come out with an effective design, but just see it as when we talk of something that is effective, you understand that it should be something that really works for us, irrespective of our constraints and all these things that we'll have as an organization. Now, so new products rejuvenate an organization and even an industry. So this is some of the benefits of an effective design. So it encourages organizations to look outside their boundaries. If you come out with a top-notch product, a product that appeals globally to the global market, then it is possible that you're going beyond your boundaries. You can go outside your borders and market these products. So you look at a lot of items that are being manufactured or that are being used in for instance, in the Ghanaian economy that are not coming out from our economy or producers in our space, but they appeal to the consumer here, and so we can actually get them. So that's some advantage. Now, it also encourages organizations to experiment. Now, a good design or an effective design pushes you to the limit, helps you to come out with some designs that defeats what we call the status quo. And so you kind of invest in experiments and ensuring that you're coming out with something. And then experimentations, trust me, it's just research. We always make breakthroughs from research. And so you experiment newer things through your designs, and then you come out with a breakthrough. Now, we want to understand what the design process is, or know what the design process is. Now, let's say the quality of a product depends to a great extent on its design. Now, I think this point doesn't need any explanation. If you come out with a complicated design, a design that is so difficult, that doesn't easily lend itself to production, you can end up coming out with some product that definitely would not be of good quality, or a certain design that doesn't match your production capabilities. Obviously, you'll find it very difficult, and the product will lag behind in certain aspects. Now, consequences of a poor design. A product may not meet customer needs. It may also be difficult to make, and that quality suffers. Exactly. A poor design doesn't mean that the design is not good. Probably the design doesn't fit your specifications, or the design is too complex, and in that case it makes it difficult to just come out with a very good quality product. Now, consequences of costly designs may also be that the final product will turn out to be overpriced. When you have a very complicated design, or the design is so expensive, the final output would equally be expensive. And in basic economics literature, the higher the price, I believe we all know what happens. Less will be demanded. Now, and the product may also lose its market share. That's it. When the product gets too expensive, then what happens? We can have high volumes being sold out, and it falls out of the market. Now, consequences of the lengthy designs. Now, the other part of the coin is when you have a very complicated design that will take too long to actually be put into production, you may always end up in the situation where your product will be late to be put onto the market, or probably by the time the product actually comes onto the market, it's already experiencing decline. Is that okay? Now, so if you look at these things, these characteristics actually are defining what a poor design will be, or what an effective design should actually be. Now, if your design has to be effective, it mustn't be lengthy, it mustn't be costly, and it mustn't be complicated to do. Now, what if you also come up with some shabby design that you rush onto the market? Now, this is funny because if you don't, like we said, if you don't take time, you just want to rush stuff onto the market, you're only going to come out with some sloppy product that will have a lot of flaws and will not really be robust enough to meet the market or outperform other products onto the market. Or probably other competitors will just look at the inabilities of the product and augment their products that will push your product off the market. And so there must always be a balance. Now, characteristics of an effective design process. Now, it says that a design process match the product or service characteristics with the customer requirements. You see, so your design must always take into account what the customer wants, not what you, the producer, thinks the customer wants. So there's a clear-cut distinction there. Now, it also ensures that the customer requirements are met in the simplest and least costly manner. And so you must always make sure that although customers would have certain requirements, you must work within some constraints. You make sure that the product or whatever you're going to use, or the whole process must be done in a costly manner, so that the final output would also be, priced in a certain way that customers can afford. If you have a very awesome design and it's so overpriced and people cannot afford it, then it's as good as not producing it. It also reduces the time to design a new product or service, and also minimizes the revisions necessary to make for the design to be workable. So you see, you look at these things, and all these things culminate into coming out with a good design process. Okay. Now, so let's look at some steps in the design process to make sure that you come out with an effective design. There are certain processes that we need to go through. We need to go through the idea generation stage. We need to do our feasibility study. We need to look at the preliminary design, also the form design, the functional design, and then the product design, and then the final design. We'll look at all these one by one in the subsequent slides and make a good sense of them. Now, so under the idea generation stage, so this begins with understanding the customer and identifying the customer's needs. Now, so all the time, whenever there is a problem, that is an opportunity for an idea. Whenever customers are coming out with complaints or demands, that's an opportunity for another idea, for a new product. And so that's why we talk of the feedback processes in every production process, that you always need to always get back to your customers and knowing their opinions of what the product. So yeah, and then sources of these ideas could also come from our own research and development department, and this is where we actually go ahead and solicit ideas from our customers, find out things, and also engage in research, and also come out with probably even groundbreaking ideas that will be novel to the business environment. Customers' complaints and suggestions, like you're saying. Market research is also part. We can also get ideas from our suppliers. Our salesmen in the field are also source of good ideas. Now, even factory workers, internally, we can generate ideas for new products. And then new technological advancements or developments can also be sources of ideas. Now, the next step is to do a feasibility study. If you've been able to come out with a brilliant idea, you would need to go through certain, confirmatory steps or processes to ensure that that idea is feasible. Now, we need to undergo some market analysis. The product you want to come out, do you think there will be demand for it? So you need to assess, test the market, do some market analysis to be sure that there will be demand, or there is relevant or adequate demand for the product. I don't think any producer would want to invest resources into coming out with a product that doesn't have demand, that is will not be required on the market. Now, economic analysis. This one looks at, do we really have the financial muscle to assess this product? Would it be profitable to us? You know, all these things really need to be considered critically. Now, the technical or the strategic analysis must also come in, or where we want to assess whether whatever product we want, does it fit into our strategic objectives? Does the organization have the financial muscle to undertake this? Does management think we need this? Is this the need for the organization? Now, you need to go through these things and satisfy these 3 requirements before we can move on to the next step. Okay. Now, the preliminary design. So if we are sure that there is demand for our product, and we are sure that we have the financial muscle to undertake this project, and also it is in line with our corporate objectives or strategic objectives, then we can go ahead and start designing some preliminary idea of what our things should look like. And so the design engineers will take the performance specifications and translate them into technical specifications. So here we're saying that we want to kind of build like a prototype and test it and see whether we can, there are areas that need improvement, and look out for those opportunities where we can make the product more robust and more competitive. So we do this, we retest and continue until we have a viable design that we sure will fit for the market and would also, you know, tell the customer's story. Okay. Now, then the form design, this refers to the physical appearance of. So if we've been able to come up with the prototype, then we really again need to come on, how do we want this thing to look like? So this basically we'll look at, let's say, the aesthetical looks. So the shape, the color, the size, the style. You know, these things, they matter because, you know, sometimes, well, you're buying a phone. A male customer doesn't mind whether it is black or white, you know, but a female probably may mind if it's not pink. You know, so all these things need to, so the weight, you know, everything must, and all this comes under the form design. We need to put all this into perspective. And then the functional design looks at ensuring that certain functions, we remember when we looked at quality management, we said that to the customer it is fitness for use. And so how reliable is a product going to be? How easy it is going to be to maintain? And then the ease of use. You know, if you come out with a product that is so complicated and the average customer can use it, then, you know, well, but fine, we have ideas of niche marketing now where people find their niche and look out for certain market segments that they want to target. But generally, you want to look at these functional, you know, aspects of the product and factor them into your design. Okay. Now, so under if we look at that production design, so we look at all these things, and, you know, it culminates into what we're saying, that we are coming to have a good design for our production. Now, if I've been able to, or if the organization has been able to come out with all this, the functional, you're satisfied with the functional design, the form design and everything, how are we going to produce the product? How would we make the product? Now, we also need to do this. So the production process, everything must also be formulated, the design. And so we're saying that as a result of this, the production personnel sometimes find themselves redesigning products on the factory floor. If you have if you haven't planned your production design process properly, you know, it comes out with that problem I just read, that if you have poor production design, you know, a lot of things could go wrong, and you could find your employees, you know, trying to, you know, redo some parts of the product on the factory floor, which should not be the case. At the factory floor, we should be doing exact. Remember, we said get it right the first time. Get it right the first time. Now, this poor production design could also be costly and disruptive. Yeah, and I think that is it's obvious and understandable. And then the final design would have a detailed, you know, drawings and specifications for the new products or service. So this is where we complete everything that we've looked at, from the idea generation stage to the production design stage. We're going to put all these together and come out with our exact blueprint with the exact specifications and whatever tolerances that we may need for our product. Okay, so over time, we can also have certain techniques or we have techniques that we use to improve the design process. Okay, so now what we mean by improving the design process is, continually, how do we continue to put in changing expectations and requirements of our customers and all that. So we're saying that in improving your design process, you need multifunctional teams. Teams with employees or personnel with varying skill sets. So people with different abilities. You don't just take people with just single skills or ideas to just run the show. You need some engineer, you need a structural engineer, you need a whole number of people all putting their ideas together. Now, decisions should be made concurrently rather than sequentially. You do not make decisions in your own, let's say, in your own closet and toss it over to the table of the next person. The idea here should be a round table discussion where inputs from all dimensions, all functional areas are made into the product. So, one department doesn't sit down, come out with their draft and send it to the other one and say, okay, you put in your ideas. No, we all sit together and we do the design. You need to consider the environment. You need to consider the extent to which we would design for quality, and also the using of quality function deployment. It's a technique that we actually use to solicit customers' opinion, compare it to how we are doing, compare it to that of our competitors, and come out with the voice of the customer to ensure that what we are actually coming out with a product actually speaks what the customer wants. And then we also design for robustness. So this has to do with the functional design of the product. Okay, so this brings us to the end of this session. Thank you so much.